They say the two worst days in a fighter pilot's career are the day that he steps to the aircraft knowing it's his last flight and the day he steps to the aircraft not knowing it's his last flight.
Let's talk about that. Hello, Edward.
Ron, I've got to fire you.
Well, I've got to fire you. Bing, bong, bong. You're fired, Ed.
Do you even know what you just said?
Team River 1 want to be closed, full stop. Just one more. River 1, Roger.
On today's video, I talked about it last time. Just going back into the archives, going to take my FINI flight video and narrate it. Just tell you kind of what was going on, what was happening. If you remember from my previous video of how I flew fighters in the Navy and the Air Force, I was flying F-18 Adversary, VFA 204 down in New Orleans from 2012 to 2016. I was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease in 2015, and even though I was transferring to the Air Force transfer wasn't going well. I mean, the medical side of this, I got a NAMI waiver to go fly back in the F-18, and I thought, well, I'll just stay because the Air Force transfer, you know, they were also not too happy about the kidney disease and didn't know if they were going to waive it. So I fought to stay in, and basically the Navy said, personnel side said you're non-deployable. The NAMI, the aviation side, said you were full up. So I got to fly all the way until the end of the fiscal year, and I had to go find another job. So this was basically the end of that fight. So the last day of the fiscal year, I got my FINI flight, knowing that, you know, I'll never fly the F-18 again. And at the time, I didn't think I was going to fly anything again. You know, with the transfer held up like it was, and obviously it took 2 years, I just didn't know what was going to happen. So it was kind of an emotional day and kind of a bittersweet day because, you know, it was an awesome flight. I got to go out, do close air support, which is one of my favorite missions, and to do basic fighter maneuvers. So I'll talk about those here as we go. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So my last flight was the end of September in 2016. We briefed it up. I was the flight lead, and my wingman, guy named Simple Jack, great guy, got dressed. I will not miss the Navy equipment. That harness is totally different than the Air Force. The Air Force, you don't have to step into anything. It's not, you know, don't have to be a contortionist to get in and out. They've got clips, so you clip the leg straps on and off. This, I don't know, it's just one thing I won't miss about it. Also the gear, you're not wearing all the gear in a vest. You're actually, it's in the seat. So small things I won't miss about the Navy, but thin blue line patch, something I wore for my last flight. I actually gave it to one of the guys in the squadron. That's walking out of the PR shop and onto maintenance, where I met my wingman, signed out the aircraft for the last time, everybody knew, and then we drove to the live loading area, the Kayla, where the actual flight, the aircraft were for the flight. Going out to the airplane for the walk around, get the salute. He shows that, hey, all the pins are out of the aircraft, you know, the gear pins and all that stuff, and then do the walk around. In my hand is the brick, which is a little mag tape cartridge that maintenance uses to download. It stores all the maintenance information. And then pre-flight in the bombs. These are Mark 83 1,000-pound bombs, live bombs that we were going to go drop at the range is called Red Leg. It's out by Fort Polk, which is west of Alexandria. And then doing the walk around, just one last time to see the Hornet before it was all over.
Alvin calendar field information. Charlie 1355 Zulu. Weather. Wind tree 10 at 6. Visibility 6. Haze. Few clouds at 1,000. Few clouds at 2, 5,000. Temperature 2, 6.
Got cranked up, got the canopy closed, and then called for clearance with Alvin Calendar.
Counter clearance at River 1-1. River 1-1, clear to Alexander 165 rail 031 DME via the NOLA 23 upon departure. Ahead and climb maintain 15,000. Expect flight level 22010 minutes after departure. Your departure frequencies are 123.85 or 256.9 or squawk 4717.
And what he was doing there was the I-bit, so that's the computer checking the flight controls. So we taxied out, or taxi out. What you can't see here, which I wish I got, everybody lined up and they all saluted. everybody, all the maintainers out there, which, I mean, it was really hard not to choke back some tears there.
Ground, River 11, flight of 2, taxi from the Kilo to runway 4.
River 11, calendar ground, runway 4, taxi via taxiway Kilo Alpha, cross 14, Lima Papa.
Kilo Alpha, cross 14, Lima Papa, River 11. Base, event 1's taxi.
Base.
Flight, TAC 19 Ox.
So we taxied out after all the check-ins and stuff. That was just my normal check-in with base, nothing special. Just kind of taxi out. We were holding short and we had to wait for the F-15s to come back, so we actually sat for a really long time before they finally cleared us in position and then cleared us for takeoff with some F-15s.
River 11, runway 4, wind calm, clear for takeoff, change of departure, traffic 7 to the east, proceeding to the initial is flight of 3 F-15s. River 11, clear for takeoff, switching.
So Simple Jack gives me the thumbs up. I check his aircraft, give him the thumbs up, run it up and salute and light the afterburner and go. We got the unrestricted climb out to 16,000 feet, and somebody was nice enough to get some video of the last takeoff there. Nice thing about the Hornet, with the takeoff trim, you really don't have to rotate. It kind of just flies off the runway. We talked about that in our other video, but you know, it's a really easy, you know, flying aircraft. It's really nice. But still, last flight, so, you know, built up some speed even with the bombs in the targeting pod, and then did the unrestricted climb there, or what it would do with limited performance being heavier. Turned out west over the city. Simple Jack rejoined on me, and we headed to the airspace where we check in with Black Cat. There's going to be a long comm here. I'll explain after, but it's the check-in for you know, we were doing close air support, so we're simulating that we're supporting guys on the ground that were in kind of a combat situation. So you'll see kind of all the check-in, all the stuff that has to be written down, and then we enter what's called a wheel, which is a left-hand orbit around the target.
Black Cat, River 11.
River 11, Black Cat. You're approving the overhead. Go and fire the back.
River 11, emission number 69692 FA-18s, position 22 miles to the east. 2 by Mark 83s apiece, 20 minutes on station. River 11, AP flare capable, abort in the clear.
Copy all, 23 miles to the east, abort in the clear. Ready for situation update 20 Alpha.
River 11, ready for update.
Stress in the area possible, SA-7s and 14s. Targets are going to be enemy mechs and artillery. Friendlies are located at OP2, Quebec 958, 433, friendly grid. Artillery is cold. Final control will be Black Cat 20, I am clear. Dagger 1 to 50 map, Cat 3 grid best. How copy?
River 11, copy zone.
7 ready for 9-line 20 Alpha.
River 11, ready.
Game plan is as follows: Type 2, bomb on target, dry pass followed by hot pass, 9-line as follows: 1, 2, and 3 from the overhead, elevation 350 feet, revetted artillery pieces, Victor, Quebec 98215, 40378. No mark, friendly northwest 3848 meters, egress back to the overhead, lead back lines 4 and 6.
River 11.
So it's a lot of information passed back and forth. I tell him what I'm capable of doing. He tells me what the current situation is and then gives me a target and then a talk on. I edited out the dry pass. So from the wheel, this is a roll-in for a live pass where we're doing a 30-degree dive bomb.
River 11, in heading 130.
River 11, cleared on.
Altitude.
That sound is the altitude alert that I'd set up.
River 11, off sync, two-way.
Boom! 11, good hit.
contact lead 10.
Same position, too.
So it's a roll in, make sure we're on the proper wires, what it's called, drop the bomb, safe the aircraft, so master arm off as you're climbing away, which is a safe escape maneuver, so we're out of the frag pattern. And then as you can see, that's what it looks like. So from there, Simple Jack dropped his bomb, so they're saying, you know, from leads hits, go, you know, it's basically a shack. And then they asked us to do what's called a show of force, which is a really cool thing. It's kind of like the law enforcement ask, tell, make kind of concept. So if they're having trouble with whatever, indigenous forces or whatever, and they don't necessarily want to go kinetic, they don't want to drop bombs, but they want the bad guys to know that, hey, we're overhead, you know, as fighters, and we're ready to drop bombs if necessary or shoot the gun or whatever. We can do what's called a show of force, and that, you know, it's a low pass, real fast, loud noise, you know, to get their heads down to, you know, kind of put the fear of God in them before things start to escalate. So it's a lot of fun to do as a pilot, you know, but it's really cool. I think it's a cool concept.
Overall mission successful. Thanks for the work. We'll talk to you on the phone.
Everyone, thanks for your help, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so checked out with them. They say, hey, good job, mission successful. And then we climbed out, did a quick battle damage check between the two of us, and then set up for our dogfighting.
Everyone, let's speed engines left. 1, 2, speed engines right. Check tapes to HUD. 3, 2, 1, fight off.
So based on our configuration, we're kind of heavy, kind of low. So it's not exactly the best, most ideal setup, but it was a beam setup. So we start out line abreast, and then we just fight each other, you know, as if turn-in fights on kind of deal. This is high aspect BFM. Right now, I think we're, you know, pretty neutral, but, you know, as we go, I might get a fleeting shot here if I remember correctly. Don't have all the comms, but definitely fun. You know, I mean, it's not, you know, like we would do when we're perfectly clean in a BFM configuration with no targeting pod and all that stuff. But still, you know, the F-18 was a very maneuverable aircraft. Didn't have to pull a lot of G's to be good. And then, you know, it was just one last hurrah fighting, you know. So I've got a shot here, you know, a quick missile shot as we go. I don't think I'll never get into a guns WES or anything like that, but I do get a couple fleeting missile shots or simulated missile shots. But you can tell low energy here because the leading edge flaps, and then the vapes coming off the leading edge extensions. Obviously we get slow towards the deck there, and we'll call knock it off here in a second. Once we knock it off, Simple Jack rejoins on me, kind of like I talked about in the other video. Very standard. He'll come in, I'll give him the signal, that's the battle damage check signal. He'll go high, he'll look at the top of my aircraft, make sure, no, you know, from pulling G's, no panels, nothing's out of place, nothing's falling off the aircraft. And then he'll go underneath the aircraft, cross under, again, make sure no panels are open, nothing's wrong with the airplane, you know, no damage or anything that, you know, we missed. And then once he has completed that, you know, as we truck towards the exit of the airspace towards home, he'll give me the thumbs up, and I'll pass the lead to him, and I'll do a battle damage check on his aircraft. And it's the same thing, go high, look at the top of his aircraft, and then as you cross under, you know, you're looking at, make sure there's no panels, anything like that, everything's good, and then checking the top. Then coming home, you know, this is the point where you start to realize this is it. You know, this is my last time flying the aircraft. I, you know, very active with the reserve of the sheriff's department, and you know, I used to come back and fly over the sheriff's office on a, you know, 1v0 or whatever, just to kind of let them know, you know, I was out flying. And this was the last time. In fact, right below that is the law enforcement center. So I did a you know, it's not low, you know, it's legal, it's 1,500 feet, but, you know, fly over and then fly down the causeway on the North Shore, St. Tammany Parish, which is where I live and work or volunteer with the sheriff's office, and then we duck down to 500 feet over the water, flying down the causeway, VFR, talking to New Orleans approach. You know, it's all completely legal, and just one last time. You know, I mean, it's one of those things, you're trying to enjoy the moment, but you're also kind of realizing, you know, I'll never do this again. So then we asked for the city tour, which is a lap around downtown New Orleans in the French Quarter. So you know, hit the Superdome, fly over the bridge there that connects the city or central business district to the West Bank, and then make a lap and then go straight back to the airport. But it was kind of hard. I mean, you know, I didn't want to let it go because I was flying a 4th gen fighter in my city. You know, I went to Tulane. I went to, you know, I lived in New Orleans. I originally got hired by an A-10 unit in New Orleans. You know, it's my city. You know, I was a Saints fan. You know, it was, it's really hard to let go of that because it was really kind of the perfect setup for me. And you know, the fact that it didn't work out was kind of disappointing, but and at the time I didn't think I would ever, you know, fly again. You know, I thought this was, you know, I didn't have much faith in the Air Force transfer just because it wasn't going well, and you know, I kind of was seeing, you know, the writing on the wall. So thankfully it all worked out, but yeah, it was just kind of a hard lap around, you know, seeing it for the last time. But from there, we flew direct to the initial for the overhead, and we were going to do the section break for the carrier break there.
Tower, River 11 is 8 to the north for the overhead.
River 1, Calendar Tower, report a 5-mile initial runway 04, 865 over the runway.
River 11.
So yeah, this report initial. They had a helicopter over the runway, no big deal. It was gone by the time we got there. Simple Jack's there hanging on, flying formation, and we come in for the carrier break, which is down to 800 feet. And yeah, I won't say the speed, but we're definitely not going slow. But unlike the Air Force, where, you know, you'll give them the pitch out and it's, you know, 3-5 seconds or whatever, the section break, yeah, I kind of hosed him here with the wing waggle rolling out. But the section break, you see the hand signal, he comes with me, you know, so it's I turn, he turns with me. So instead of driving straight and waiting and then turning, we both turn at the same time, and he takes his spacing just by easing the pull on the G to downwind. So we roll out a downwind, and I request the touch and go for the pattern, and then Simple Jack is gonna request the full stop, and that gives my friends who would come out to see me, you know, time to come out, maybe watch a pattern or two while he full stops and gets out of the way, which is, you know, it's a nice thing for him to do. So I do the touch and go behind Simple Jack doing the full stop, and then I raise the gear and actually depart and re-enter because I wanted to do another carrier break, just one more, and I had planned on coming up initial and then full stopping, but So on downwind here, they're going to ask me my intentions, and at first I was like, yep, full stop, and then I was like, yeah, just one more.
What's the intentions?
River 11 will be full stop.
Roger, runway 4, check with downwind 2503, clear land.
Clear land, River 11. Okay, River 11 will be closed, full stop, just one more.
River 11, roger. River 11, runway 4, check with downwind 350 4, clear, low approach.
Clear low approach, River 11. River 11, close, full stop.
River 11, interval close.
River 11.
Yeah, that's just the radar altimeter as I'm low approaching with the gear up, but yeah, that was pulled close for the last time, came back around and full stopped. It was actually one of my better landings. I mean, it was a pretty decent landing. The Hornet was always, I always flared. You know, I wasn't one of the guys that did the carrier landing every time. I tried to flare it off, and it was a very, with the planning link and stuff, it was very easy to, an aircraft to land. It wasn't very difficult at all to have a really smooth landing. That was it. You know, I looked over, I could see my friends all hanging out and waiting for me, and that chapter of my life was over.
Last flight, you guys have been awesome. I appreciate everything.
River 11, roger, glad we got that.
After doing the post-flight checks and all that stuff, you go to the back to the ramp. You're checked for hot brakes and de-armed. And then they, you know, final salute, they know, and everything's kind of surreal at this point. I can see my friends over there hanging out. I can kind of you know, see where I'm gonna park. They didn't, you know, obviously not allowed to go under the sunshades, you know, while active aircraft are taxiing. But it's just it was a beautiful day to go flying, not a cloud in the sky, and a beautiful way to end my Hornet career. So taxi in, let out a deep sigh, knowing that it was over, and shut down both engines, and hoped that one day I would fly again, and I was lucky. And so after that, the fun begins. They hose you down. It's a tradition on your FINI flight. They hose you down with fire bottles or fire trucks or whatever's around. And that's Bo, which you may have seen from some other videos. He was my FTO at the sheriff's office. And the bald-headed guy I gave him a incentive ride in the F-18. That's also, if you look in the flying videos, that's there. And just hose you down and say congratulations.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mondays with Mover. It's kind of a bittersweet time, but little did I know then I would actually eventually get to go back and fly, which, as I saw in my T-38 video, that is back. And I'm happy to report that it will happen again, and I will be back in the T-38. That was not one of those examples. I joke about the 2 times you step to the aircraft, and I've had 2 FINI flights now, one in the F-16, one in the F-18, and it's tough, but it's always better than some of my friends, as you have seen in the memorial video, who, they walked to the aircraft not knowing it was their last flight. They were killed in action. Or, it could be a medical thing. I mean, there could be times where your FINI flight, you just don't know what happens, and all of a sudden you're never flying again. So I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to get that flight. So anyway, that's it for this episode of Mondays with Mover. Next week we'll talk about the 5 things I love about being an airline pilot, so kind of changing it up a little bit. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.